Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
Welcome back to Netroots Nation here in Pittsburgh. Really enjoying the time here, running into some old friends, and one person I haven't seen in a very long time. I grabbed here in the hall and decided, hey, we got to sit down and talk and catch up. Alex Lawson, he is the executive director of Social Security Works, the folks who do the defense of Social Security and Medicare. They do fabulous work. Alex, great seeing you again, man.
It's good to see you too.
It's great to be back out in public, and you get to run into so many people I haven't seen. So it's really good to see you, and good to see you back out doing here. I want to talk here. Good stuff.
Yeah. I agree that being back at Netroots Nation is it's good. It's really
I keep coming back to that. It's good.
It's good. And I think people understand it, but like a lot of the stuff that happens is just sort of random, right? Like you run into people that you haven't seen, and we're all fighting this same fight, or the people that you run into and want to spend time with. And there's some really great work that comes out of that. And now is a great time with the passage of Inflation Reduction Act, and there's so much more to do. There's so much that we didn't get done, but we did get a lot done. And how we're going to take that into November, because we're up against, this arsonist party of who luckily are, I think, punching themselves in the face a little bit with being honest about their plans on, say, destroying Social Security, for example. Ron Johnson in Wisconsin, that guy in Arizona running against Mark Kelly. And I think that plus, I will just say, the solidarity of being among so many people, remembering that there's so many people in this fight.
Yeah, it's easy to kind of, especially during the pandemic, to feel you're alone in all of this. A lot of the contact I've gotten from people, hey, thank goodness you're here. You give me hope and, inspiration, and I'm not alone in this. And you come into an environment like this, and you're reminded you're not alone in this.
Exactly. And as a communicator, I'm often saying, you gotta get organized. You gotta stand with your neighbors and allies and feel that power to start really understanding and believing the truth that all power does come from the people, and that united we are unstoppable. And that, organized money in Wall Street, what they want to do is isolate us. They want to section us off into different silos, just working our own little thing. And when they get scared is when we all realize it's one fight, right? It's one fight against the billionaire class. It's got lots of heads, but the same evil people who are profiting off of destroying the earth and the extractive industries are the same Wall Street private equity people who are involved in having our drug prices be the highest in the world. And so a win on Medicare negotiation is a win for the movement.
I was going to say, interesting you brought up, drug prices, given the fact that in this Inflation Reduction Act, big deal.
It is a big deal.
Again, a big victory. I know a lot of people, not enough, we should have done more. Big victory, take the win. But negotiating for drug prices in Medicare, a huge win.
Huge win. And I'm a huge policy nerd who's been working on this for over 13 years now. And I just want to spend a second so Medicare negotiation, I think people understand, like we've been getting ripped off, right? Like
we haven't been ripped off. We're Americans, Alex. We pay full price.
We've been getting ripped off. The size of the ripoff is so astronomical that when we just get a little less ripped off, we can actually pay for enormous amounts of things with it, right? Like that's what I want everyone to understand. But the legal concept is what I want people to understand. The win, it's in the law now, Rick. It says maximum fair price. The entire basis of the pharmaceutical industry's arguments, all of their legal arguments, is we're coming in and saying, you're killing people with your high prices on insulin. People are literally dying. And in the courts, what pharma says is the government does not have the expertise to know what is a fair price or what is a reasonable price. And now we're saying, yes, it does. It's right there. It says find the maximum fair price and then negotiate using that. And there are limits, right? So we didn't win because pharma spent $100 million. So we didn't win everything we wanted. It says, only on a certain number of drugs, 10 in the first year, right? Well, guess what? In the first year, I'm going to be the one who's like, I'm not paying them more than the maximum fair price. Oh, my drug's not included? Well, it should be. If you can find a maximum fair price on a drug, you can find the maximum fair price on all drugs. And so our track is also laid. And that's what I think is so important. We have the legal tool now, and which is the maximum fair price. We actually got even more than that. The fact that they can't raise the price faster than the rate of inflation. That was a Ron Wyden special, and it's really powerful. But now we know what our work is. No one in this country should be paying more than the fair price, right? Like, it's not okay to be getting kind of ripped off. If we can stop getting ripped off, then that's what we're going to do. And I mean that in all senses, organizing, but also legal challenges. Again, I know your audience is into wonky details, but reel me back in if you need to. There's one coming up in particular called, it's a prostate cancer drug called Xtandi. And it was paid for by the DOD. So U.S. taxpayers developed this drug. It's one of the only instances where pharma did not they usually lie really well to hide up the public funding, but they didn't in this case. It's totally funded by taxpayers. A Japanese company owns the patent now, and they charge 4 to 6 times more in the U.S. than they do in Japan.
Right.
And you're talking tens of thousands of dollars for this. And this is a drug that is primarily at a person's end of life. And so it's really about giving people quality of life as they are facing death. And this company sees that as an
opportunity to cash in.
As
and
much
what
as
could
possible.
be more American than that?
And so this particular one, we have a mechanism that Biden can use. So not legislative, not through Congress. Cinema doesn't get a say on this. The president can use a power called march-in rights, which says that if the government has paid for the development of something and it is not being priced on reasonable terms, then the government can use its march-in rights. And guess what the drug companies, what Astralis would tell us is, you don't know what a reasonable price is. The government doesn't have the expertise. And now I'm like, we do. We have the expertise. It's laid out in law. And we just said we're going to use it here. So President Biden, Secretary of HHS Becerra, we need you to do this, take this executive action now. And we're going to do that on Xtandi. We're going to do it on insulin immediately. And, I've said in a bunch of interviews that, this isn't a win as much as it is a starter pistol, right? Like it is a huge win, but I'm going to be working way harder after than I did to get here.
Right, because you're going to have to hold them accountable. But what do you say to the other side who goes, well, now you've just destroyed the drug industry and they're not going to be able to create these drugs. We're going to all die because you want fair prices.
So there's a few things there. One is that's an industry talking point that's just has zero truth to it. What happens now is that the taxpayer, the American taxpayer, we fund the research and development of all the drugs. All of the drugs are funded by taxpayers.
Right.
And I'm going to use a really specific example just so people really get the ripoff. The Moderna vaccine, right? We all call it the Moderna vaccine. I took the Moderna vaccine. Great stuff. I love science.
I got 2 of them.
It's amazing. Right, exactly. Do you know what percentage of the research and development of the Moderna vaccine Moderna paid?
I would guess 0.
0%.
Because we spent a whole bunch of money.
We spent, it was 100% of it. We had to force, a public citizen actually did this amazing job of forcing them forcing Moderna to admit that they, and to put it in their filings, that they spent 0% of the research and development of the Moderna vaccine. I got fact-checked on that one. I think you'll appreciate this. By USA Today, I made a meme, and it said, they paid... USA Today put out a fact check because, they're close to industry or whatever, the corporate media, and they said, oh, that's not true because these universities spent money on it. And I'm like, that's not how drug development works, man. We pay the universities to do the research.
Right.
That's how it works. So I had to fight with them for a while, and they were totally wrong, but to save face, they actually were like, well, you said taxpayers paid 100%, and Dolly Parton actually donated $1 million to the development of it. And I'm like, that is the lamest excuse I've ever heard corporate media. But even then, she's a taxpayer. So it's still 100% taxpayer money. But then what we do is so dumb. We just give the patent to this company.
Yep.
And we say, do whatever you want with it. So, there's a few things. I know for a fact that you don't need a company. They say that they bring it to market, right? Like that they can actually do the last mile. I know there are other methods of getting that.
Sure.
But even if you were to allow that they're the only ones that can do that, right? Or that they're good at it, put some restrictions on it, right? Like we develop the drugs and then we get charged the highest prices in the world. Why? Because we're the only country that lets them do that. We're the only country that lets them charge whatever they want.
Because they spend a lot of money buying the best democracy they can get.
$100 million, Rick, 1,500 lawyers just to kill the IRA, 1,500 lobbyists just to kill the IRA, to make it as weak as possible and kill it. And I want to tell you, we beat them. I want people to feel that. We beat them. Yeah, we didn't win the whole thing, but win in life, have you win the whole thing, right? One and done, it's not how it is in life. But we beat them. The unbeatable pharma is beaten. And you know what I love about that? There's the possibility of a virtuous cycle with politicians, because you know who loves lower drug prices? Everybody.
Everybody. There you go. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show here with Alex Lawson. Alex is the executive director of Social Security Works. You want to check out the work that they do, socialsecurityworks.org. We'll get links out on social media, how you can check out the work that they do. Want to change topics just a little bit, still Social Security, Medicare related. I'm looking at Rick Scott. I'm looking at some of the folks on the Republican side with these great ideas. Rick Scott's got an 11-point plan. Basically eliminate everything, and every 5 years, maybe out of the goodness of their heart, they're going to, bring them back. What does that mean for Social Security? Because I was talking to a grandmother the other day, and I said, you do realize that this is what they want to do. They want to eliminate this. And she could not believe that Republicans wanted to destroy Social Security. Couldn't believe it. I go, it's in writing.
I know but the amazing thing is you don't even have to listen to me or you on that. You can listen to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is the one who said, I don't want Rick Scott's plan to sunset Social Security and Medicare to be what the Republicans are known for in November. And so we're like, thank you for giving us the exact thing that we're going to say, because Mitch McConnell knows that is their plan. He's not pissed about the plan. He's pissed about Rick Scott saying what their plan is. The Republicans have, for a long time, understood. It's not a long time. I mean, it was 2006 when W tried to privatize Social Security, and the Democrats beat him so badly on it that the Republicans realized they had to lie about their plans for Social Security. I'm missing his name. I'll think of it in a second. But the former president of AFSCME, he had this great line during the privatization fight where he said... Jerry McEntee, thank you.
Who just passed recently.
Yes.
Yeah, sadly.
And he had this great line that I bet you remember, where he went on TV and he offered W. Bush money to keep his tour selling their privatization plan going. He said that AFSCME would pay for it to just keep him going around the country talking about his plan to hand our Social Security over to Wall Street, because every time George W. Bush opened his mouth about that, voters fled. And that is what I'm hoping that we can accomplish. But what you just said with the person you were talking to, that is what we're up against. People just don't believe that the Republican plan is as bad as it is.
No, and I say this all the time. Republicans hate working people. And here's, 10 reasons and 10 policies. This is what they've done. But I give people, no, I don't believe that. But here's the proof. Right. Here's the writing. It's right here. Read it. No, we don't do that.
I know, and you know what? I don't remember who said this one, but like always sympathy for the conned and none for the con men, right? And so I get it because there's so much propaganda out there. And corporate media, as you well know, do not allow us to tell the truth. That's why shows like yours and truth tellers, who we're sitting with like some of the best around here, it's incredibly important. It's the only avenue that many people have to actually understand what's going on. Like, you can't find that on the corporate news. You think that the corporate news is going to tell you the truth about pharmaceutical industry?
No, they're funding it.
That's who's funding them.
Yes.
Look at the commercials. That's who the news work for, is who's ever running those commercials. Yep. And so I just would say, like, what we need to do is use every avenue that we have, every channel that we can to communicate directly to the people about the stakes. And here are the stakes. I got to testify in front of the Senate Budget Committee on this, and Senator Sanders, Chairman Sanders set it up, and it was just on Republicans want to cut your Social Security and Democrats want to expand your Social Security. And we just went through and listed all the plans. And that's what we have to do. We have to get that out there. We have to get it out there that every single Republican voted with pharma to keep you paying the highest drug prices in the world forever. Every single Republican voted to allow corporations to pay nothing in taxes as long as they have really good tax lawyers that can hide their money in offshore accounts. And as you know, that just destroys American manufacturing as well, because the tax setup before the IRA really benefited people who don't make stuff in America, people who make stuff elsewhere and then can use financial wizardry to not pay taxes on that. So I am I'm really proud of the Inflation Reduction Act, including all the scars I have from the fights to make it better. But I know for a fact that we fought as hard as we could, and we got a lot of good stuff in there. Nope. And every single Republican, they fought against it, and we need people to understand they fought for the special interests, and the Democrats fought for the people.
It's the best way of putting it. I couldn't do it any better myself. So last question I got for you. You here at Netroots, you've been to these before. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's great. It's I'd say that this is it's all over the country now, all over the world. I think, there's a pandemic still around, right? But we are remembering the importance of community, maybe remembering to hate Zoom a little bit as well. Like, it was useful, but it does not take the place of the power of people getting together. And if we are going to beat, there's like 2,000 something billionaires in the world, and there are so few of them. We have all of the people.
Yeah, we outprocreated them. They've got all the money. We've outprocreated them.
And we've got the people. And it's wonderful to be at Netroots to be reminded of that, of being with the people, fighting for the people. Like your show, it's wonderful to be back talking with you, Rick.
You got to come back again sooner.
Absolutely.
Good seeing you again, Alex.
Good seeing you.
Thanks so much. Alex Lawson, Executive Director of Social Security Works. Make sure you check out their website, socialsecurityworks.org. We'll take a quick break here from Pittsburgh at Netroots Nation. Back after this.